You could be holding it without even knowing. A heavy, unusual coin with 12 distinct edges. A piece of everyday change that most people toss into a drawer at the end of the day. But for a small group of collectors, this exact coin has become the center of a modern treasure hunt. Because in the right condition, with the right characteristics, this 2008 Australian 50-cent coin has stunned the numismatic world, values climbing to extraordinary levels, whispered about in collector circles as high as worth $500 million, depending on condition. It sounds impossible for something that once bought a cup of coffee. And yet, stories keep surfacing that make people stop, reach into their pockets, and take a second look at their change. Picture a late night in a quiet kitchen. Someone empties their pockets after a long day. Keys, receipts, a few coins. One of them lands with a heavier sound than the rest, that unmistakable thick metallic ring of a 50-cent piece. It slides across the table under the light, revealing the familiar coat of arms of Australia, the kangaroo and the emu frozen in metal, the shield between them filled with tiny symbolic designs. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And that's exactly why so many of these coins were spent without a second thought. Across America, collectors have begun to chase modern world coins in a way no one expected 20 years ago. The thrill isn't just in ancient silver or gold anymore. It's in finding a modern circulation coin that somehow escaped the wear of time. And the 2008 Australian 50-cent coin sits right in the center of that story. It represents a moment in history when minting technology was precise, mass production was at its peak, and yet a handful of coins emerged with details so sharp, surfaces so untouched, and anomalies so rare that they became legends almost overnight. You can almost feel the texture when you hold one. The cupronickel surface has a cool, satin finish. The 12-sided shape presses into your fingertips in a way no round coin ever could. Under magnification, the feathers in the emu's body separate into fine individual lines. The fur of the kangaroo becomes a landscape of microscopic detail. The tiny stars and shields in the coat of arms reveal a depth most people never notice. And on the reverse, the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II appears with a clarity that depends entirely on how that coin lived its life. Whether it passed through thousands of hands or sat untouched in a roll since the day it left the mint. One of the most powerful moments for any collector is the discovery that something common isn't common at all. A man in Ohio once purchased a mixed lot of foreign coins at a garage sale for the price of a fast food meal. He wasn't even looking for anything specific. He simply enjoyed the feeling of searching. Days later, under a desk lamp, he noticed a 2008 Australian 50-cent coin that looked different. The fields were mirror-like. The details were razor-sharp. The edges were flawless. That coin would eventually be authenticated as an exceptionally preserved example, graded at a level that almost never survives in circulation. When it crossed the auction block, the room went silent. Bidding leaped in seconds. What had been a curiosity became a defining moment in that collector's life. The mystery deepens when you learn about the subtle variations. Not every 2008 coin is the same. Some were struck with slightly different pressure, creating stronger detail. Some show faint doubling in the lettering, visible only under magnification. Others display die cracks that snake across the surface like lightning frozen in metal. These are not flaws in the eyes of collectors. They are signatures, proof that this particular coin is unlike any other. And then there is the condition factor, the single most powerful driver of value. Two coins can be identical in date and design, yet one is worth face value while the other commands an extraordinary premium. The difference is in the preservation of the surface, the original mint luster that flows like liquid when the coin is tilted under light, the absence of scratches, the crispness of every line. Collectors describe it as a coin that looks the way it did the moment it was born. What makes this story so compelling is that these coins are not locked away in museums. They are still out there. They traveled across oceans in pockets and suitcases. They were dropped into tip jars in New York and Los Angeles by tourists who didn't want to carry foreign change home. They were placed in coin albums by children who have since grown up and forgotten about them. Each one is a silent possibility. The auction world has added fuel to the legend. Every time a pristine example appears, it resets expectations. Prices that once seemed high suddenly look modest. Collectors who ignored modern Australian coins now compete aggressively for the best pieces. The atmosphere in those auction rooms is electric. The rapid calls of the auctioneer, the subtle nods from bidders, the final hammer strike that confirms a new benchmark. And somewhere in the middle of all this, there is you, standing at the edge of the story, possibly closer than you think. Because the difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary one often comes down to a single moment of awareness, a second look, a decision not to spend it. As the search continues, more stories emerge. A waitress in Chicago finds one in her tip tray and keeps it because she likes the unusual shape. Years later, a friend who collects coins notices its flawless condition. A retired couple sorting through travel souvenirs rediscovers a small envelope of coins from a trip to Sydney, untouched for over a decade. Each discovery sends a ripple through the collector community, reinforcing the idea that these coins are still hiding in plain sight. By the time the highest confirmed sales are revealed, the transformation is complete. What started as an everyday coin has become a symbol of possibility. Not every example will reach those heights, of course. Condition, rarity, and demand shape the final number. But the fact that a circulation coin can move from pocket change to a centerpiece of a major collection is what keeps the hunt alive. And that is where the story turns back to you, because the real power of this coin is just in the auctions or the headlines. It's in the idea that the next discovery hasn't happened yet. It might be sitting in a jar on a dresser, in a box in the attic, in the bottom of a drawer filled with travel memories. The next life-changing find doesn't belong to a museum or a professional dealer. It belongs to the person who takes the time to look. So the next time you see a thick, 12-sided coin with the Australian coat of arms, don't dismiss it as foreign change. Tilt it under the light. Study the surface. Feel the weight in your hand. Because hidden inside that ordinary moment could be the kind of discovery that collectors dream about, the moment when a simple coin becomes a story worth telling for the rest of your life.